for a little bit. In about an hour, I'll be going to go get a new dog. And I'm super excited about that. But I got an hour to burn. I got a little bit of work to do here. So I figured I'd start on it. So basically, we made this material yesterday that can do a bunch of different types of planets. So far, I've been able to do gas giant, lava, like Earth-like. I already know it'll do ice worlds. I think I can basically do almost everything. Assuming, down the line I'm going to have to do glass, which would have more specularity, I imagine. But that's just a scalar that I can put in there. So no big deal. And so what I'm trying to work on now is, so first thing I need to do is I need to go into my material planets. And I need to make a bunch of these. Specifically, I need one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different types of planets so far. I'm not going to do them all right now, but I will need that many instances. Right now we have 3: gas, molten, temperate. Let's go ahead and open up this method. Actually, I'm just gonna print screen. Sure, you want to play that game? Print screen. Oh, I see. It's a picture of the capture. Okay. Got them. So let's go back down here. Start renaming stuff. So gas, molten, temperate. I need the desert. Rock. Ocean. to our planet material. So I'm here, I have a temperate, I have a gas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Move all these guys into the instance folder. Alright, down here, we start renaming. Empty metal. Empty glass. Empty cyber. Metropolis. So what these will be responsible for is setting up the initial configuration, the noise and such. Alright, we do have catastrophe. Oops. Protoplanet. Empty. Ice. Oh, there's one other that I thought of. Neon. Incandescent gas would be a better name for it. Enums, planet class. All right, and now we're gonna do dynamic material instance. Empty molten instance. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I need... There's 8. Should be 17. All right. Molten. Desert. Rock. Ocean. Move these up. Grab 4 more. Jungle. Temperate. Gas. Incandescent gas. Alright, this is going to be metal. Siren. Metropolis. Catastrophe. Permanent. Photo. Nope. My bad. Nice. Snow. Rename. Planet Material. Yep. Can I do multiples? No. Okay, I didn't think so. Copy, paste, 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 copy, paste. Here, 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 here. So basically, getting the material here was in my way of getting this piece done. No, can't do it. Well, shit. I should have done this as a part of the other one. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah. There we go. So now, hopefully, pretty soon, like potentially the end of the day to day, depending on. I don't know about that though. Getting a dog is a lot of work, and we have to drive about 5 hours total to do it. So I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have after this session, but I'm like maybe 2, maybe 3 hours away from being able to spawn in planets, not taking into account like orbits or anything like that. No, I want to drag this thing itself. Alright, there we go. You should spawn our planet and give us a material for it. We're going to want to go ahead and make this a sequence. First we set up the material. Then we set up the initial location and scale. Rotator. So move our planet to the spot. Go ahead and set temp and composition. Random stream. These will come into play in a bit. They actually come into play outside of here. here, down to here, and then this new scale, we have our radius. We're gonna need size classification. This becomes a map. Fossil, giant, normal, dwarf. Point 0.5. This is a float. Fuck. Point 513 9, and then we have a and then you have this is single float. Size unit. Call this 1,000. And so now we can take this with this times the radius times planet size unit. Okay, so at this point we've set the location, size, base material, and rotation of the planet. Hemisphere will still have to be done. Rotation rate and orbit velocity have to do with animation, which happens outside of this method. This is just an instantiation, initialization type deal. So what I need to do now is basically the randomization of all the randomizable material factors. So pull this over, content drawer, material instance, cyber instance. Okay, here we go. Put this over here. Ah, fuck. Put this here. Keep this over here. And so let's just make a list of all the shit we need to set in the base values. Notepad. We got boost. Composition 0 1. Created super. Composition coefficient do 0.5 to 0.8, 4 to 0.8. Adhesive. Those will be set by the individual materials. Falloff. 1 to 3. 4. The polar temperature controlled on a per material basis. Mutate. Range. Temperature is 0 to 1 with the weighted. Temperature set. NA. Set externally. Fresnel. Gas types. It should be NA. That'll be on the material. P1 through P3. Instance X1 through X3. Okay, so that goes over the entire thing. Oh, chill, sudden chill. Okay. Set vector parameter value. Parameter value. Three of these. unfortunately. Like this so that it'll... Oh, fuck. Three, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and then delete this one. Haha. Okay, now, this should actually be pretty easy. We just set, 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 set. So the trick here, when you're doing random stream stuff, it's all got to be on different execution blocks. So like if I took a random stream and I plugged 3 cables into this RGB, for instance, I just plugged 3 into it, then that would come out as all 3 being the same values because they're happening on the same execution block, so it returns the same values. So instead, you have to do something like this where you set them all up as variables, all the values you're going to need, and then float from stream. And then you can do this. So like if I just took this and plugged all 3 directly into this, since it's only 1 pin, they would all come out the same. But since each of these have an execution pin, if I do it this way, they'll execute in sequence and you'll get different random numbers. Doop, 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 and then doop, 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 doop. Now we have everything we need in hand to do this, 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 this. This randomizes the initial starting x-axis translation of the material layers, the individual layers of noise that are composing the height map. And when you change these, you get different height maps, but similar. Different but similar height maps. So this is effectively what makes the continents random from planet to planet. Okay, so we randomize those. We're leaving noise as is. We're leaving these as is. Temperature set externally. Composition is set externally. These get mutated. These are not useful. So, and this is not useful. This could be randomized. Okay, so dare I hope that this is close, because it really does feel like there's not too much left to do here, at least for the initial. I'll still have to build an atmosphere blueprint, incorporate that into this. I need the vent a black sphere. Actually, let's do that. Low res UV sphere. Black on it. So we add that because, as it turns out, when you do this type of Fresnel transparency to do gas giants, which this is not going to be a Fresnel thing, but it could be. It turns out that if you have a very bright object like, say, a star behind it, it shines through it, and that's not what I want. So we add this guy, and this is just a sphere that's completely black and blocks everything. So, oh, hello, Platinum. I hadn't looked at my chat. I was just talking to myself for the most part. Rename, this would be blocking sphere. So for Banes of Gas, at least if you're doing it the way I'm doing it, you just make different noise patterns. I used, so you will see I have some of these planets that are using gas, and the difference there is when I render my noise pattern, instead of having it having the aspect ratio locked, I stretch the x-axis, right? So you end up with noise patterns that look like this instead of others. And then you just generate extra patterns like that. And then if you wanted to do it vertically, you could do the same thing. The gas planet border is a Fresnel transparency effect, which is what I was just talking about over here, is that if you have the potential on this material to add that Fresnel effect, you have to add a sphere that's a little bit smaller than it, that just will completely, like, it doesn't need to contribute color or luminosity or anything. So I'm using this Vanta Black, which is just a, I mean, obviously it's a full black, no emissive. And I just stick a sphere inside of this sphere, so that when I'm on the other side of like an extremely luminous object like a star, it would normally shine through some of the transparency added from the Fresnel effect, but because there's a black sphere in the middle, you don't get that, and it'll actually block properly. There might be a way to fix that if I could figure out the... I think what's going on is that, like, when I apply the Fresnel effect to the sphere, it is fading out the edges the way I want, but there's just like a micro amount of transparency that the gradient is applying to the rest of the sphere. So instead of being 100% white, it's like 0.999% white. And that's fine until you get something that is insanely luminous behind it, because it will shine through at that point. Here's something cool that I don't believe you've seen. So I made my master planet instance, and now it's really cool. I have like a workflow for creating different planets now that involves me creating these this gradient, maybe this gradient, depending on what you're doing. So this gradient is controlling which parts of the planet will be luminous based on height. So you could think of these as like height maps and temperature maps. So left to right, you're going from low temperature to high temperature. And bottom to top, you're going from low elevation to high elevation. And what that lets me do is really cool. Is like here you can see I have a little ice world, like all the oceans are frozen over. But if I start ramping the temperature, we move from ice world to temperate world. move from temperate world to arid world. And the temperature in this case is controlled externally to this object, so it's controlled by the like math that we do. Like it's basically a function of the star's temperature and the distance of the planet from the star. And then the other cool thing here is that we have this composition slider, and this lets us make wacky colors. Right? So like if it was different elements but a similar type of planet, we can shift this and it will shift the materials that go into the planet. What would make a good game project? Sorry. Oh yeah, well I mean that's... Oh no, I got polar caps. So the way I do polar... Let's lower the sea level a little bit. Alright, the way I do polar caps. So... because now I'm using temperature to control that gradient, right? Oh, you know what would be good? Would be... Eventually, I want to streamline this process so I don't have to be so manual. But anyway, so because the point of your gradient is controlled by your temperature now, the way I do polar caps is basically I have a gradient that masks the top of the sphere and the bottom of the sphere in a gradient, and then I subtract that from my temperature. So the brighter this gets, the colder the poles of the planet get. Although I might have broken something here because it doesn't look to be applying on the bottom of the planet. But you get the idea. Oh no, it's working. And then this controls the fall off of that functionality. And this controls the multiplier of how cold the poles are going to make the thing. And the other thing I did was I incorporated water into the texture itself so that I don't need a water sphere anymore. And the way I do that, it's actually pretty easy to understand when you look at one of these textures. This guy, for instance, I'll show you. Oh no. Did I lock up GIMP? What the fuck? Okay, so I literally just painted this by hand, and the way this works is you can think of the y-axis from bottom to top as elevation. So this is going to get height mapped, basically. The gradient going this way is going to get height mapped from the bottom of my elevation to the top of the elevation. So like right here, the peaks of your mountains would have snow on them, but right here at the max temperature they would not. And then, oh, hello. Oh, it's Scott. I don't understand why people would do that, because it seems abysmally pathetic to me to want to buy people to watch your shit. So I'm just gonna ban you and have a good day. Bye. Like, I'm sure a lot of people do that. It's just like in my mind is so fucking pathetic. Like, anyway, so So you can see, like, here's our water table. So as the planet heats up, right, the water creeps in. You got your sea level rise from global warming. And then as you get colder, the sea level drops, and then yeah, I know, right? And then as it gets colder, your sea level drops as more and more of it freezes, and then you transition to the point where your water is actually frozen. Likewise, as you heat up and get out of this middle temperate zone, you get more and more like dusty, sandy, browns and sand colors rather than greens. So like right here in the middle, and then as you get over here, you start transitioning to like the rock underneath the grass, and then eventually into just like everything is covered in snow. So that's how that works. It's kind of like a little eye shape, which makes me think that I might be able to proceduralize even this part a bit. But that's how that works. And then we couple that with a potential, so a polar fall off gradient. This is the gradient that's applying our temperature subtraction at the poles, like basically decreasing the temperature at the poles. And then a luminous gradient, which I'm not using here, but I use in this guy. And that is so that you can add luminosity to part of the planet. Like here, the luminosity is getting added to the liquid lava layers and some of these like kind of fault line-ish type deals that are going on in the texture. You can also animate everything, etc. And then this guy, likewise, also has the composition and temperature sliders, so that we can have different types of molten lava here. And temperature, we can go cooler, and hotter. So what I'm doing now, at least for the next 7 minutes or so, I'm actually more excited than about any of this. I'm getting a dog today. We got a dog a couple weeks ago after our last dog passed about a month ago. And we have a sweet old 8-year-old Shih Tzu girl that we picked up. And she's partially blind, but she's a super sweetheart. And but we're getting a young dog to go along with her, keep her company, keep her young. A Brussels Griffin pug mix, and we're going out today to pick him up shortly. I think we were planning on leaving about 10:30, which means that I'll have to go get ready in about 7 minutes. But I figured I would hop on for about an hour and start working on the initialization of our planet initializer. And once this piece is done, it should be fairly trivial to implement the like base solar system. It won't be complete because like obviously I need a material for every single planet type, and only have a few right now, but I have that master material that I can make all kinds of planets with, and I have my data model already. So like if I start this, you'll be able to see, cancel. Yeah, let's see this. Oh God. Alas. No, it's wrong too. Shit. type. Alright, so when I start this, you see the data model of where we're at get printed out. So we don't have a star or a cluster here, so none of this stuff would actually exist, but we still calculate it. And we can see that we've got a rock planet, snow planet, rock planet, ice planet, gas planet, cyber planet, desert planet, jungle planet, desert planet, molten planet, rock planet. And then they have different sizes: normal, dwarf, 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 normal, dwarf, dwarf, normal, normal. There's also giant and super giant. We just didn't roll any in this particular segment of the galaxy. We have a definition of asteroid rings around the star that I'll eventually add in. Yeah, I don't... Oh, that's awesome. So that's a thing that could exist. Like when I do these colors and stuff, it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily intending to strive solely for reality. I want it to be a rules-based system so that, like when something's hot, it will always be one color, and when something's cool, it'll always be another color. But I actually want the colors to look cooler than the colors we can actually get, because you never see like a bright pink star, but it looks really cool. So I want to incorporate that in, you know what I'm saying? Because in reality, you've got red, orange, yellow, slightly green, blue, and white stars, and that's it. But I want more colors than that. You know what I'm saying? But the idea here is that I could take any of the little pieces of data. The planet parameters is what's getting printed out here. And I could take this thing and I could make a blueprint that will take one of these and build a planet that matches that, right? And then I can build a planet spawner that will iterate through these and spawn a planet for each planet in the system. And the other thing that we do, we calculate like radius here, and that would be radius of your total solar system size. So in my case, I have large world coordinates on, which means that I have about 88 million kilometers to play with. So I set that to 80 million kilometers to give myself an 8 million kilometer buffer before I got a re-origin or something. And so hopefully what that means is that when all these things spawn in, they'll be at like their requisite distances in the world space from the star, and all that kind of stuff. So like I'm over the hump of getting my data model in place. I'm past the point of getting a master planet procedural generator that can generate right now. I can do planets that have luminosity, so stuff like lava planets, or like planets that have a nighttime, like you can see human cities or whatever, like little lights and stuff. I could do that with the luminosity gradient. It can do gas planets. Actually, I probably couldn't do that with the luminosity gradient now that I'm thinking about it. I would probably need a different material entirely on like a half sphere or something. But I could, I know how to do it. It's just, it can do gas planets, and it can do temperate planets with like oceans. And it can do rocky planets or planets that don't have oceans. So it can do a lot. And I have all my nebula and skybox shit from the other project that I just haven't ported in yet because I wanted to get that after, and I've altered the nebula sphere texture to also work off of temperature and composition and use a gradient, which is a great. Okay, so the biggest lesson learned here is that the way you do this I think the best way that I've found to do what I'm trying to do, which is not like handcraft a perfect planet that like looks amazing and it looks like photoreal, but you made it by hand. Because I don't want to do that. I want to generate trillions of planets. And the best way I found to do that is combining spherical noise to make a height map, and then using hand painted gradients as a height, color, and temperature map. And then if you want, you can have another gradient that you use as a tint map, which is what composition does. So you have two gradients, and I have 3 layers of three-way noise. So that's 9 noise patterns, 2 gradients. Oh wait, and a third. The polar. If you want polar ice caps, the polar gradient. So actually, 3 gradients, 9 noise patterns that are rolled up into 3 textures, and I use that, and like you can do a lot with that. Like you can make a lot. But you can see that we're at this coordinate system location at this multiverse seed. So this is actually a multiverse, because this is also a coordinate. Our galaxy's 80% of the age of the universe, has about 10% density of clusters. It's pretty big. And everything gets a temperature and a composition. And then if you do it like that, you can standardize a lot of the values that you need in your material, which makes it easier to randomize it across a broad range of things. Like you go in, you handpick the noise, and you handpick the the gradients for each type of planet, but then you randomize everything else about it. And for some planets, handpicking the noise could, or for some types, handpicking the noise could be like you have a set of noise, like an array of noise that's acceptable. Because maybe you don't want to use all the different types of noise, right? Maybe you want a large resolution noise in one spot and a small resolution noise in another. Then you can create an array of all your large resolution noise and then one of all your small, and then just randomly pull from that. So you can randomize the textures at runtime too, which I'll be doing. I'm kind of psyched. I think that this is like, I've got a long weekend here. I think that by the end of the weekend, I can have this thing spawning systems, probably with everything, like the star map, the fucking planet generation scheme that I've worked up here, this data model that I'm building. There won't be any asteroids because that's a whole new thing that I haven't done anything on yet. I like this project a lot. There's a lot to sink your teeth into. You can just pick something and go down a rabbit hole, and that's like the kind of shit that I really like. All right, well, I'm about to go drive 2.5 hours, pick up a dog, and drive 2.5 hours back. So I hope you guys have a good day. I'll probably be back on later tonight, maybe, but I don't know. It's going to be chaotic, so we'll see.